Hello, hello. This is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about this report that the U.S. now, who backed the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, they're now funding them because Israel has presented evidence that there were people associated with the organization that were helping Hamas. And some hostages even said that they were being held by them. So good on that. And they are doing investigations and trying to issue some accountability. But hey, there's been some issues there for a minute. So we'll be talking about that. Also, Vivek was on the Breakfast Club. I haven't watched the whole thing, but he did tweet out a section where he was talking about abortion, and he's so confident that his take was like so good. A lot of people really liked it. I have concerns with it, so we'll get to that. But I saw some other clips that were quite good, and especially going in talking about history. And he told this story about that led up to being about Abraham Lincoln and stuff, and that was really, really great. And so he definitely has his moments, but he definitely has his moments. So also big shocker on the rap front. Someone you probably know has a #1 rap song right now on iTunes. So we'll get to that in a second. So anyway, before we jump into it, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, if you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It costs a stream, run my website, all that stuff you guys can support. I do very much appreciate for watching on Facebook. You guys can send stars. For watching on YouTube, you guys can do super chats. And if you're watching it back later, you guys can still send the stars and you can send super thanks. So that is an option available to you. I do encourage you guys to also check out different merchandise that's available at blacktnews.com. As well. We have different t-shirts and mugs and so on. So go ahead and check that stuff out at the store. We also have, if you go to the merchandise page, there's a banner that'll take you over to my book site. And so on my book website, there's a banner that'll take you to my book website, which is ninjadustpublishing.com. And I got all kinds of stuff that you guys can read and check out. Coming up, Black History Month is next month. I do have a historical fiction fantasy with some pretty neat tidbits of history in there. I'm not going to promise it's the most historically accurate thing ever. It is fantasy, but but I recommend you guys check it out. So anyway, you guys can find out more information. You can just look for my name, Christina Elbar, on Amazon. But if you go to Black Tea News, you can find it. Happy Friday! See you guys in the comments. Happy Friday. If you're watching on Facebook, you cannot see the comments that are coming on through YouTube, but I can see them. So thank you guys for commenting and being here. And to those of you who watch it back live. So the first thing I want to show you guys, though, before I want to talk about the surprise rap thing, but I gotta show you guys this tweet and then play this video for you guys of Joe Biden. That is so funny. And we like to start with something funny if we can find something for you guys. But this was funny. So sometimes how people will, the media, instead of just transcribing exactly what Joe Biden says, they'll write something, you actually listen to it, and it's like, that is not what he said at all. That is, you're typing out something far more coherent. So in this case, in this post here, let me try to make that a little bigger so you guys can read it. The beer brewed here, ha ish, used to make the brew beer here, ish finer, ooh, Earth Rider. Thanks for the Great Lakes. And of course, that's gibberish there. Of course, that's gibberish there. And you wonder what's going on. You wonder what's going on. But if you actually listen to it, which we shall now, you will see that that is an accurate transcript.
The beer brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer in this refiner. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. The beer brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer in this refiner. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes.
So yes, that was an accurate transcript of things happening. So it's really incredible that Democrats are going to, perhaps they won't, but it right now looks like they're continuing on with their game of chicken because they think Biden can beat Trump, and Republicans are, I suppose, are confident that Trump can beat Biden. I don't know how confident they are, but it is a game of chicken between the two people. But I don't think that there's enough full confidence from Democrats. And I think they see things like that and are concerned. And his policy is so bad. The border policy is so incredibly awful. I was listening to Ben's show on the Daily Wire. They put up I guess a short documentary about their trip to the border. And he told a story that he was on the border and they saw a drone overhead. And he's like, talking to Border Patrol. And he's like, I assume that's one of ours. And they're like, nope, we don't have drones in this area. That's the drug cartel. And so he's like, why don't we shoot it down? And they said that has to go all the way up to like the Secretary of Defense. That's just kind of stuff that the Biden admin has put in place. So the drug cartels in Mexico are sending over their drones into America. And Ben said that they are so kind of familiar with the area that they probably sent a drone around that area because they did not recognize his car and they were trying to check it out. Now that's really scary. That's really concerning that they have so much knowledge and control over our border and there's nothing that we're really doing about it. I have family that goes, my dad goes on the mission trip. My sister's in the comments. She's, goes on mission trips and they went to areas where the cartel was very prevalent and it was concerning. They have to live on pins and needles and really operate like with godly wisdom on how they run their churches and stuff. Because if you do the wrong thing, you might end up dead. So we should not have to be at the mercy of the cartel in the United States of America, especially knowing what they're doing. And how many articles have you read about the cartel sending over drones like that? Like how many? Like how many articles out there have really centered on how bad it is? You see articles about the mayor of New York and mayor of Chicago being frustrated and pointing the finger at Abbott and boo-hooing to Biden and wanting funds and stuff like that. You see conversations like that, but there's this big standoff with Texas and all these state Republican states, and we were waiting for Trump to say something. Trump did finally say something about and joined in with the Republicans as well to in support of Texas. So I just wanted to mention that there's this huge issue and it's really not making waves, not to the point where it should be. The news was talking about China spy balloons for days, for weeks, maybe it was. And cartels are just straight up sending over drones on the border. And we know they're smuggling people in. We know that they're bringing in these drugs. They'll use, people coming in mass at certain places so they can get in and out easily. They bring these people in, they'll like abandon kids and babies knowing that the border patrol will take care of them while they flee and do whatever. It's a terrible situation that is really being exacerbated by the fact that the president of the United States doesn't want to do his job for whatever reason. Yesterday, I speculated that politically it's just bad. This is a huge issue to Americans, not just red states, not just Republicans, but to the country as a whole. It's very high on the list. It's probably the number one issue why Biden should not continue to be the president, why he should lose in 2024. The number one issue. I was listening to Ben debate Destiny on the topic, and Destiny brought up January 6th, and he brought up the election, Trump denying he lost the election. He brought up all sorts of things that people could point to and be like, yeah, and Ben was, I'm like, I didn't like that behavior. But when it comes down to it, like, Ben's just like, there's different safeguards in place, and what filters through the safeguards, whether they're on behalf of Trump or on behalf of Biden or whatever, what the kind of policy filters through that, I still like what Trump is going to put out. Now, if America says that the showdown is between Biden and Trump, that's the showdown. But this border situation, I mean, I'm concerned about the quality of people he nominates for judgeships and stuff. There's other reasons that you can name to not support Biden, but the border situation is really concerning. The border situation is really concerning, and other candidates have enough sense to point it out. JFK was pointing it out and made a statement standing with Texas. So what are we doing here? But they could just feel that it's worth taking a loss if all these people come in, and if it radically changes America to the point of total dominance for Democrats, it's probably worth it to them. But I don't know what the Supreme Court is going to end up saying, as there's this real constitutional crisis going on with the executive branch flat out refusing to do their duty. Something's got to be done. And we don't have time to wait. We don't have time to wait. All these people look like preparing for civil war, though. I don't take y'all seriously. I don't think y'all gonna is that deep where people are just gonna, I don't know, mount on a horse and get some guns or something. I don't take people too literally. I was surprised at how much people rolled over during COVID and lockdowns. And after that, I was like, oh, y'all ain't nearly as gangsta as y'all pretend. Y'all ain't nearly as gangsta to just how the country rolled over on that, and we're controlled. Like, Americans are far more like sheeple than I thought. So when people are like, this is my there's a thing on Twitter, people are like, this is my outfit that I'm wearing to the Civil War. I hope y'all are just joking, because y'all are jokes. Not gonna happen. But anyway, something needs to be done. Moving on. Speaking of Ben Shapiro, he released a rap song today, and he's number one on iTunes right now, and it's kind of great. I don't think Ben is gonna, be one of the greats or anything, but it's just funny. They are number one on iTunes, so I'm gonna surpassed Taylor Swift, Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, Justin Timberlake. I didn't even know Justin Timberlake had a song out right now, but there's all kind of memes. I'm gonna scroll. I'm on his page. Let me just scroll through a couple things. That top one is, I think, his border thing. How you doing, fellow rappers? So there's these memes going out. He's in a fact city. different memes. This one's pretty funny. Just pretty interesting. If you're familiar with the show Supernatural, in I don't know, the first season, maybe second season or whatever, they mentioned that there were 666 seals that they had to break in order for the apocalypse. Well, there were 666 seals. You only had to break 66, and if you broke 66, that would trigger the apocalypse. I think one of those seals is probably the Lions winning the Super Bowl. And it might be worth it, but I don't know if that will happen. A lot of people think they're gonna not win on Sunday. That they're definitely not the favorite going in. And there's some very hopeful Lions fans that are very happy right now that I have not heard a single person who believes that they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they're not out there. I just have not had a conversation with a Lions fan that's just like, oh yeah, they're going to take it all the way. But who knows? But if they do win, I think that's one of the 666 seals that would be broken. If this was a supernatural universe, I think Ben Shapiro having a #1 song on iTunes as a rap song is probably another broken seal. So the song is pretty good. So see, it's a collaboration with Tom McDonald, and his stuff is pretty good though. So I'm gonna I don't know if I'll get flagged or whatever. So I'll I don't know if I'll play the whole thing, but I'll just go to Ben's course, and then you guys can find it on iTunes. I mean, or
they call me offensive, controversial. It's only two genders, boys and girls. They can't cancel my message because I'm the biggest independent rapper in the whole freaking world. Claim that I'm racist, yeah, alright. I'm not ashamed because I'm white. If every Caucasian's a bigot, I guess every Muslim. My pronouns, I'm the man who. I ask myself, what would Ben do? Let's just keep it real, facts. Don't care how you feel, man. If you want my pronouns, I'm the man who don't respect.
Let's look at the stats. I've got the facts. My money like Lizzo, my pockets are fat. Homie, I'm epic. Don't be a whack. Dog, it's a yarmulke, homie, no cap. Look at the graphs. Look at my charts. You're blowing money on strippers and cars. You going to prison, I'm on television. Dogs, no one knows who you are. Keep hating on me on the internet. My comment section all woke Karens. And I make racks off compound interest. Y'all live with your parents. Nikki, take some notes. I just did this for fun. All my people download this. Let's get a Billboard #1.
This ain't rap, this ain't money, cause you.
Yeah, so I was pretty excited yesterday because there was a I don't know if it was yesterday, I think it was Wednesday. There was like a teaser from Tom. He's like, everyone's asking me who I'm collaborating with, so let me FaceTime him real quick. And as soon as Ben's face popped up, he's like, hey Tom, and it just cut out. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this real? So it's real. It's a #1 song. I guess it's not totally crazy surprising. I mean, Ben doesn't like rap music. He's has said it was trash and other stuff like that. And Zuby and other folks have tried to have conversations with him about it. He actually talked about it with Destiny on their debate. And he said it's hard for him to consider it music when he's a classically trained violinist, and he listens to Mozart and other stuff in his car with his kids. So it's hard to just accept that genre of music and as something comparable or in the same universe as what he's grown up with. So I guess you could just say it's snobbery that prevents him from sort of accepting the genre. So, but I'm not totally surprised that he would do this, or they put out the song and etc. Because Daily Wire, they've in some regards mastered having some kind of alternative thing in a field where their niche market of dedicated fans will go out and support that thing and then just blow it up as a business or something, like Jeremy's razors or Jeremy's chocolates and etc. So not mad at the game. It's a pretty decent song. My favorite line is probably the that I found that was kind of humorous anyway. It was the dog. It's not a bro dog. It's a yarmulke, homie, no cap. So it's a really good line. And but I do like Tom's line when he's like, "You want my pronouns? I'm a man who doesn't respect you." And I just really like that, because people really, really, really try to push that pronoun crap. And obviously, if you guys have been following me for a while, I really don't like it. So kudos to their success being number one. You know, not totally shocking that as soon as they put that in their song that it would elevate to number one. I don't know how long it'll stay number one. Because I'm sure there's some rap fans out there that probably won't like that he's at the top, but it's funny. Congrats. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Vivek on the Breakfast Club. I haven't watched the whole thing. I've just watched some snippets. Vivek posted this clip of him talking about abortion, and he thought he had a really good take. There's some people applauding his take. Spoiler alert, I don't like his take. He said some really good things on there, though. I just want to put that balance out there. But this take I didn't like. I think there's some really big problems that he's overlooking. And he presented it like it was sort of the brilliant thing that would solve a lot of issues. So anyway, we'll watch that segment together. This will probably get flagged by YouTube, but we shall watch it regardless together. Okay. We pull it up. Here we go.
The project of uniting this country. And right now we have a major divide in this country. And at a certain point, we're going to have to look 360 degrees across the board and say, all right, we're all laying down arms. We're going to agree to be one nation. We're going to agree to disagree on the issues where we disagree most profoundly, to say that we are still going to be bound by a common set of principles as Americans. Take abortion, right? This is one where they say there's going to divide the country to a breaking point. I've stood for policy, and it's a mystery to me. I'm the only Republican who has advocated for this. I think it's a winner politically, but I think it's also the right thing to do. They say, okay, you can't find common ground on abortion. How about this one? Tell me, we've got three guys here at the table. Let's talk from man to man on this. I think that if a woman brings a child to term...
This is what you fucking up at. You fucking up because it's three men, and you're saying you're having a conversation about women. You should be bringing the women to the table. This is why the shit you're talking about the founding fathers is some bullshit, because you got a bunch of men, you got a bunch of white men trying to make policies for a bunch of diverse groups.
No. Most women here like what I'm about to say. Most men don't.
You got two women right there. Ask them.
We have, actually. And we've had a conversation. I think you may be worried about what I'm about to say, which is...
So on a side note, Vivek presenting his idea as something that women will like anyway is fine. I hate when people, and no one's gonna, I guess, say this to me because I am a woman, but I hate when people are having a conversation about abortion and they try to shut men down. No uterus, opinion, etc. for several reasons. One of them being they don't tend to mind when pro-choice men are talking about the issue. They don't mind when they're advocating for it, etc. Right? They just mind when someone is like, no, you cannot do that to your baby. They don't want the judgment, right? So it's not really about people not liking or feeling that you can't tell other people what to do, because we do it all the time when we legislate things, right? It's just they don't want to be told to not do this thing, and if they can tell, they'll say no uterus, no opinion very easily to a man and go off on a tangent. But if a woman says the same thing, they'll say this: you have no right to tell me what to do anyway. So, same principle doesn't matter. So I just hate that men, especially with the background of men being the ones who decided Roe v. Wade, and men having such, NARA being, NARAL, not NARA. NARAL being originally founded by men. Alan Guttmacher, who took over Planned Parenthood from Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger wasn't even into abortion like the people who took it over. I know we all demonize her, and we should, but like Alan Guttmacher was also a eugenicist who took over, who wanted to really expand abortion. Like she was big on birth control, but not to the degree of like where, I mean, but she's big on birth control, but not in the sense about, she wasn't crazy on abortion to the extent that followed up with her organization. So men have a really big hand in abortion, including pressuring women to have them when they don't want that child, which is an issue that I'm ultimately going to have with the thing that Vivek is going to say. But yeah, I just wanted to point out, I hate when people say that. So they just want to dismiss it. Like there's really big philosophical, ethical ramifications with this conversation, and that's why everyone needs to be a part of it, not just women, because we are talking about when human beings have rights, when human beings can be protected against violence, what sort of human beings we're allowed to discriminate against, what kind of human beings qualify as being a person and personhood. There's lots of things to discuss in this conversation. And it's a lot deeper than, I don't want you to tell me what to do in my body, when nobody believes that, because most people have some kind of limit where they don't think a woman should be allowed to kill that baby. And so at some point of time, most people agree that you should limit that. Now there's, I guess, about 10% of the population, and that's scarily high to me, that are just like, whatever, no limitations. And maybe that 10% is the entire Democrat Party. As far as like legislators, I think rank and file probably don't see it that way. But at some point, most people think that you can say, hey, you should not do that. And I definitely know that's the case in COVID, because people had a lot of opinions on what people should or shouldn't do in order to keep other people from harm. Right. So anyway, let's go back into the segment.
That I think if a woman brings a child to term, she should be able to make the man financially responsible for both her and the child if she does it, period. And that should be the law of the land.
That happens, though. No,
it doesn't happen today. Not to the scale I'm talking about. Full
That's
financial.
What child support is.
It's you do 50-50. You got 40% for the man. I'm talking about 100%. So it's 2x over. He's fully responsible for the woman and fully responsible for the child.
She has to,
because her responsibility, she took 9 months to actually bring the child to term. If it's confirmed with a genetic paternity test. So right now, today, 40 years ago,
he has full responsibility until the child's 18.
Absolutely, and full responsibility for the woman during that time.
I don't think that's bad.
I don't think it's bad either. Because I think that part of the criticism of Republicans is, oh, you're just throwing women under the bus. I say, that's a fair criticism. Let's actually take that seriously and say we're all in this together. If you believe that unborn life is life.
I think most women would agree with that. I think most women would say,
most women absolutely would agree with that.
Paying for the child and for me? Yes.
Most women would agree with that, right? And that's not the state of, well, but then men should think about that on the front end. That's the whole point. Because women can't afford that either. That's the whole, this gets to the heart of the abortion debate.
That's not a bad point.
This gets to the heart of the abortion debate.
But what he's saying is you should think about that on the front end.
Exactly.
Put your
That's the
condom
whole
on.
point.
Remember when Young Thug was like, yo, if you broke, shouldn't be having babies.
Yeah,
exactly.
But things happen that don't. But things happen that don't work
this.
out. If you think it's going to work out, and it obviously doesn't now, a man
if
that's
it's
making
confirmed
$40,000 a year, you want him to pay for the woman and the child.
That's not the wildest thing I've heard you say.
Because she's actually got 9 months of carrying the child. So this is when I'm talking back about the project of uniting the country. I don't know if that's a Republican idea, Democratic idea, or whatever. But right now, one of the criticisms is, and one of the things I believe as a leader. You talked about being a leader. What does a leader do? One of the things a leader does is listen to the best arguments for the other side, understand them deeply, and then give the best possible response to that you can. I had an 11th grade teacher. She taught me, if you can't state the best argument for the other side, you don't know what you actually believe yourself. And I think that that's true. And here on this question, the best argument for the other side is, how are you only putting this responsibility on women to say, okay, you stand for life and all of that, but how come that only falls on the woman? My answer is it shouldn't. So nature has made a decision, and some people will be offended at us saying this, but
only women have a lot of men's ass.
Only women have children. Okay, I believe that's a biological fact. Some people may disagree with that, but if you have 2 X chromosomes, you have children. But we're going to do everything we can to even that responsibility out by saying that if the man is making a sexual decision, it's not just the woman that's responsible for that. The man actually pays for the woman and the child for the next 18 years.
I'm not mad at that.
Okay, so I think that idea is crazy. And as I noted, there's already child support, and child support pays for the child. It could be to 18 to 20, anywhere 18 to 25 years. But Vivek is saying, no, the man should also pay for the woman. And I saw people in his comments like, bruh, no, that's too expensive. Like, Pearly Things was like, stop simping. And there's a lot of dudes that are just like, nope, I don't. No, but you could say, well, this would incentivize men to not knock up women. True. But it wouldn't incentivize women to not get knocked up. It wouldn't incentivize women to not get knocked up, guys. If you're getting paid, not just think about women who are, when I was a kid, there were some people in my community who had like a plan that they were going to get knocked up and go on not child support, but I'm assuming that they probably got that, but welfare. Like that was their plan, that they would just become a welfare queen. And some women do it very well. Some people, they fall into harsh circumstances of life and they require some kind of hand up or whatever to get on welfare. There's some people who plan their life out that way. And I'm not joking. So if you're going to be like a welfare queen or something, if there's women who will do that, and you institute a law that says a man will have to pay, he said 60-40. So I was assuming like 40% of his income automatically goes to his child, and the woman who bore him a child, not his wife, just the woman who bore him a child for 18 to 25 years. Well, he said till they turn 18. That's a lot. And that would cripple so many men, I think, moving forward. It would be a better policy to say, we're just gonna legalize shotgun weddings. That would have been a better policy. That would have been a better policy. Because have you guys ever looked at just like the stats of abortion in your state? If they even like put all that stuff in there's so many women who have abortions after they brought children to term. There's a large percentage of women who will have abortions having already brought multiple children to term. So there are women out there who have like multiple kids, different baby daddies and stuff, and then they'll go out and have an abortion or whatever because they just got a bunch of kids. So maybe they wouldn't abort them because they're a paycheck for not only that child but for that woman, and she could get with another guy and that be her husband, while some dude out there is still paying the bills. Like I'm assuming there'd be some other maybe legislation to be like, oh no, if you're married, we're gonna stop that or lower those costs, but that would just disincentivize these women from getting married. So I think people are like in the comments like, you can't make any kind of laws like that until they reform family court or something. That was just a terrible idea, in my opinion. And I'm not saying there's not some women who would like it, because why wouldn't they like it? Why wouldn't they like it? But what it also does is it incentivizes men to pressure women to abort. You don't think there was that basketball player who came out, his girlfriend or the woman he was with, I don't know if he's married or whatever, announced that she was pregnant. So this other girl he used to be with came out with different messages from when she was knocked up with his child, and she didn't want an abortion. And he was like, no, you got it. I don't want no kid. Don't give me no kid. And told her to go take care of it. And she's like, I already had an abortion. I feel regret for it. I don't like abortion. I don't want to do it again. And he's like, no, go take care of it. Go take care of it. And he paid her $100,000 to go have an abortion. And then he was like, I guess after he said that money, or after a certain point, he's just like, no, my lawyers, my guys are going to handle it. And just kind of like pushed her off. And from the messages, it seemed like she didn't realize that she was so undervalued in his eyes until he did that. If there's somebody who wants you to eliminate someone reproduced with like half your DNA and their response is like, you better get rid of that, that's a huge red flag on how they might value you. Huge red flag. But you would just incentivize more dudes like that. Now you could say, well, the woman might not want to do that. Well, maybe she wants to keep that man and he pays her off or whatever. It's just a horrible structure. It would make far more sense to say, you know what? We're out of salt. We're going to do shotgun weddings. No fault divorce. You knock her up, you get put the baby in her, you gotta put a ring on the finger, and you gotta raise that family, and that's how we're gonna decentivize people sleeping around and having kids out of wedlock, etc. And to me, it doesn't really address the heart of the issue of abortion. People will finances is a major reason why people bring up the fact of why they have abortions, but that doesn't mean that everyone who's getting them and who may list finances are like destitute or something. There are women who have a bunch of kids and wouldn't think of ever having an abortion, and they have little finances, but they find a way to survive and they find a way to make it work. And then there's some people who just don't want to struggle. And I don't mean like lose their house struggle, but they're just like, oh, I'm not ready right now, or I want to put my career first, and they go ahead and they have the abortion. But the problem is that they devalue the human beings, and that they decide to put themselves first, and they tell themselves what they want to hear, that they're willing to sacrifice a child. It is child sacrifice on the altar of self. So at some point, if you're in charge of the government and you know your duty, your purpose for existing laid out in the Declaration of Independence, right, is that you guys are supposed to secure our rights, right, our inalienable rights, and one of those are life. At the point of where we determine where that life begins, it's your duty to make sure someone doesn't take away that right from someone else. So they have a right to not be killed. So just say, they have a right to not be killed, so we're not going to allow that to happen. Now, assume the numbers also don't make sense to me as well. Like, you're gonna, like, from because he's arguing forced parental obligation, and I think parental obligation is a important discussion in this debate and stuff. Excuse me. I think my main thing is you don't have a right to take that life. We have no obligation to allow you to take that life and give you some kind of legal immunity for it. The purpose of the government is to protect our rights. So just because you want to cause the harm doesn't mean that we should allow you to do it. So you just don't have that right to do it, basically. And then there's like layers on top of that. And a layer I put on top of that is, yes, you're obligated to your child. So you can't kill them. And I do think you are obligated at least to not do that and provide them with some space and nutrients and stuff, at least 9 months, right? Until you can at least transfer that responsibility onto someone else. But to say that they carried the baby for 9 months, even though they're not going to agree to be the family, that he's obligated to pay for not only the child and the woman. I understand like the nobility of that, but if you're gonna still let's say they put this in place prior to getting rid of abortion, and people still in their minds have it that women have the right to choose whether they're going to abort or not, and they're just hoping a policy like this would help, I don't know, foster an environment where having an abortion becomes unthinkable, right? That's the jargon. Okay, well then you're still giving her a choice, but you're not giving him a choice. I think, men having them be responsible is a good thing. I do. Saying that they're obligated to that child is a good thing. But I don't know how you can make that obligation for the man and not say that the woman is at least obligated to not kill him for 9 months. So as long as you have you say that women don't have any responsibility to that child, to at least not kill them for 9 months. If that is your position, I don't know how you can argue that the man has any obligation to take care of that child. Morally, of course they do. Morally, of course she shouldn't have the abortion. But if you're going to argue that legally she has no obligation to do that, what world are we living in? Why it should be okay that the man is forced to do that? I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's consistent. You'll find some pro-choice women that'll acknowledge that's inconsistent and perhaps we shouldn't force those laws. But most people want their cake and to eat it too or whatever. They want abortion to be available. But if they choose to have that baby, yeah, they want that man to be on the hook for the child support. And they say it's different because the child, that same child that was in your womb, that's still his seed, his offspring, that when they're out, then they have an obligation just because they're outside of the womb. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's the same person. It's the same human being. So there's nothing so magical about your vagina that it just gave personhood. It's really not that special. A lot of women have one. Lots of women have one. So yeah, to me, it doesn't really get to the heart of the issue. I think this idea that if we make all these different concessions, that'll just get to a point where women just don't want abortions anymore. It'll be outlawed, etc. I don't think so. I think that people know it's an evil thing, but they suppress the truth because they want to achieve whatever objective they want. Whether it's most people don't have abortions because of some kind of medical issue. It's not to preserve life, it's to preserve their lifestyle. I can't take credit for that line. Trent Horn said it. But it's a good line and it's the truth. Even people who say things like, oh, well, I don't want to be in a situation where the child has to suffer financially or something. Like life is not, like this. It has ups, it has downs, it has highs, it has lows. If you bring a child into the world, there's no guarantee. Even if you're comfortable that bad things won't happen. And especially if you live in the United States of America, there's some good chances that you have upward mobility, especially if you make good decisions moving forward. So it's not fair to do that. As someone who went through some things financially, I find that to be a pretty egregious and kind of scary mentality of people. Like, let's just off the pores, But I even think that mentality is mostly at the root of it not about trying to prevent your child from struggling, but to prevent you from the burden of being a parent who has to have a child while you're struggling. That's a different pressure. Like it sucked being a kid. I know it really sucked for my parents at times, particularly my dad. The different pressures that he felt at times when it was hard on us, when it was difficult to provide. That's an extreme amount of pressure, especially for men. I'm not saying it's not hard for women, but men, if they care about their family, sometimes you get deadbeats who go and, go to the arcade or something and don't care if they can put food on the table and screw the family. But if you have a good man and you're struggling, it's hard. It's still not a good reason to kill your kid. So I'm going to read this comment from Kit Kat here. We need policies that engage the building of family units. That way, when a baby comes along, the structure to support that baby is already in place. I agree with that. But I think so many things are cultural, and we're losing a lot of that cultural unity, especially like community. If people went to church some more and stuff and built more communities around that once again, that would and actually like adhered to some of those moral old-fashioned sense of moralities that they taught back then, it would and we invited a healthy bit of shame for bad behaviors back in, that would mean a world of difference. But I think at the root of it, people want to make bad decisions. Like even if you provided all the stuff for women, child care and free college and which I think it's funny when people are like, you're pro-life, but you don't want free college and you don't want this. It kind of sounds like, give me all the stuff where the baby gets it, So I always find those arguments very strange. It's like, why do you have a list of demands? But even if we granted all those things, it might be like, oh, I have this opportunity to go to college here. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm pregnant. Well, I'm not going to not go to college. Or I'm not going to let the baby hold me up. Let me go take care of that abortion, especially since it's free. I can't miss my free opportunity for a better, So, I don't think you can just pour cash. I don't think, I don't think our government has a good way to kind of legislate, especially like through programs Democrats will put through. They just muck it up anyway. The more the government kind of gets involved in your family structures, they're not designed to make you be good units. They're designed to make you put on the government teat. That's the case with like eugenics and minimum wage, and they knew that stuff would make people have to go on welfare, and they thought that was a good thing because they didn't want people to be out there on their own, being able to kind of craft their own destiny. They wanted them kind of under the heel of the government and dependent upon them. So, and another thing to consider is that the more the government is involved in something, the more they have a say over your life. The reason why nurses and medical staff and stuff, the Supreme Court ruled that they had to take the vaccine is because they're like, well, they get Medicare money or whatever. So if they get this government money, then yeah, you have to do this thing that the government tells you to do. So imagine if all your whole entire life, your healthcare, your education, your child care, everything is tied up into what the government says you have to do. So I think strong community structures and morality is really what we need to pump back into the system to make a big difference, to make abortion unthinkable. But in the meantime, Republicans or whoever who's pro-life, you have a good case to make that the purpose of the government is to protect those lives. So if you don't like it, sucks for you. There are people who didn't like that slavery wasn't a thing anymore. Some people have to win. Some people have to lose. Good should triumph and evil should be defeated. You're not going to bring everyone to the middle on issues of good and evil. There is no middle sometimes. Sometimes people are right and sometimes people are wrong. Period. But there, in fairness to Vivek, I want to play now this clip's kind of long and I don't plan on to interrupt it. But he told a really good story and he is a great storyteller. So there's just some things about certain things that I think he says, like he has great ideas. Some of his ideas are not so great. And then there are times when he said things that were shady and crafting, and that I'm like, that's a lie, bro. So he frustrates me because there is a lot of potential in there, but he does things that make me really uncomfortable with them. But I'm going to give credit where credit is due here and show this clip that I thought was really, really cool. So this one's made the rounds on Twitter. That's where I first saw it, but he did repost it himself.
Now, don't be the person who was the slaveholder back then. Be John Adams. That's what we should call ourselves to be. The person who bucks the trend of their time to say, I'm going to speak on my own conviction and do what's different than being the product of my own time. Because anybody can parrot what the slogan is of their day. But the hard thing to do is to say the pack is running this way and I'm going this way instead anyway, because it's grounded on my conviction.
People like John
That's
Adams,
what we need.
People like John Adams are the reason you can point at it and say it was wrong, though, because John Adams knew it was wrong.
Well, a lot of people are going to be doing things today that are different than the way that each of us is going to be living our lives and say the same thing. In 250 years from now, somebody else is going to be having the same conversation. Abe Lincoln wasn't around then, man. That was still
later on.
That was still later on. And we'll just take the story down. We'll just pass this lineage down. We don't talk American history enough. Actually, it irritates me. A lot of conservatives talk about the importance of knowing history without actually just talking about history. Let's talk this through. So John Adams, you know who his son is? John Quincy Adams. He's the first non-founding father who became a president. Here's a funny fact about him. He was the first, so outside of the founding fathers, he was the first one who was elected president. He actually wasn't a great president. He was elected out after one term. People didn't love him. And so he tried to find everything else he could do. He went and tried to write some books, and he went and tried to start some nonprofits, and none of that spoke to him. He's the only president, John Adams' son, who went back to Congress after being a president. So he's elected to multiple terms of Congress. And you know what he went back to Congress with? Was one thing he regretted not doing as a president, was abolishing slavery. This is long before Abraham Lincoln comes along, okay? So he wanted to abolish slavery. His father was an abolitionist. He didn't accomplish much during his tenure as president. He was a good Secretary of State, but he was not a very good president. Think about the humility to say, I'm not even going to go to the Senate. I'm going to go become a congressman and get reelected multiple times with the mission of abolishing slavery. Now, here's what happens. There was a rule that Congress passes. It's called the gag rule, which stopped people from using the word slavery. Like they literally couldn't use the word slavery because they didn't want people to utter the word because it made them uncomfortable. So this guy's already been the U.S. president. Okay, so he has nothing to lose. He's just a congressman now. He says, I'm going to say the word. I'm going to say it, slavery. Slavery, slavery, slavery. There, Congress has set the rule that you can't say the word slavery. Well, I'm going to say it. So they censure him and have, just like they have today for George Santos or whatever, they'll have the equivalent of kicking him out of Congress. Mm-hmm. So they have his trial in Congress. And he uses his own personal trial, because this guy's got nothing to lose. They use his own personal trial for saying the word slavery when you're not allowed to say the word slavery to make the case for abolition from the stand of his own trial to being kicked out of Congress. At the end of that, they get rid of the gag rule. So you're allowed to say slavery, which opens up the debates that you're then allowed to have. So a year later, about a year or so later, he's given a speech on the Congress floor. I mean, it's amazing. This guy with this humility. He's given a speech on the Congress floor. He has a stroke in the middle of his speech. He dies right there. He doesn't die quite yet. They take him up to the upstairs room, keep him alive for another couple of days. And eventually he dies up in that anteroom outside in the same Congress where he then devoted that.
Hold on a second, guys. Okay, guys, let me know. Is there some kind of issue with my internet? Oh shoot. Okay.